Hi, this is Chef Artist Thornton. I would like to share with you um, one of the stories from my upcoming book called Love, Lust, and Soul Food. It's 15 short stories and recipes about the people that inspired me to cook them or that I cook for them, and the lessons I've learned from those experiences with those people. And the first one I'd like to share with you is a really special one. It's called Fried Chicken and the English Boy. There are many things that I find sacred, but I, however, do have a top five. Giving life, however you do it, be it through childbirth, be it through changing someone's life trajectory to a better trajectory, making love, however you do it, be it through the act or with words or maybe deed, maybe you do it through your calling, providing shelter from all that life can bring, forgiving. We all got a little shit in our garden, giving sustenance, food or love. That's where I come in. Fried chicken and the English boy. I found him funny, really, really, really funny. Like laugh out loud funny. Sometimes as catty as an old Parisian hooker, he could make me smile so hard it hurt. Joy is the only word that I could use to describe for what he carries around in his core, even though he never knows it. I guess that's the thing that made him so shiny for me. I mean, he literally shined. He had these ringlets of golden hair. He had this opal-like shiny candle color about his whiteness. He had a super strong gait, sure-footed. He walked like he was 6'4" on a mission, even though he was more like 5'7", but that mission was getting done any damn way. He had this naughty, impish-like energy. There was always something moving behind those steely blue eyes. In later years, I would often have this image of a little monkey climbing a mahogany tree. His kisses tasted like candy, lavender, and coriander. They were sweet and flowery with hints of earth. He called himself a journalist. I always thought of him more as a creator. He seemed to always be building something, whether it was the perfect article, the perfect party, the perfect moment in time, the perfect photo, the perfect book, the perfect chair collection. Yes, a chair collection. He was always putting something together that he felt the world needed. I think it's still kind of true today. There have been many folks that I've been home adjacent for. He was the very first. I think for me, when I start to catch them feelings, you know what I mean, the feelings where you start to think about them and you start to smile. Just the thought of their touch can make you tremble just a little bit. Suddenly you can remember laying on a pedestal bed close to the floor, our heads facing north, our feet facing south, him to my west, morning sunlight shining in. I always remember his embraces and his smell. His embrace was always firm and didn't give. It wasn't an embrace that we melted into each other. It was an embrace where you melted to him. He always smelled like soap, paper, leather, and citrusy. Despite the old stereotype of gay men being mild and timid, he was anything but. There were times we'd all go out for a night of debauchery, and I swear I always felt just a little better, a little bit more at ease if he was there, because I knew if something popped off, he'd be swinging with me. He once wrote me a poem for my birthday where he said, "My heart was as big as Paris." Till this day, I still turn to him if I need to find light and strength. At the same time, I'm thankful he still shares some of it with me, even after all these years. We had a mutual friend who introduced us. She was a model. She was crazy. Who, by the way, I still turn to when I need to unleash my crazy, but that's a whole nother book. I didn't think, she introduced us. I didn't think I was his type at first. But we did have that in common. We were kind of the no type kind of guys. I was dating men, women, and everything in between. And it seemed that he was doing the same. It was the early part of the 21st century children. We weren't that open about our sexuality. But we definitely were fluid as fuck. I call it the ecstasy sexuality. But we all knew eventually we would have to pick a team. After a few walks and talks and nights of partying, he asked me out. No friends or loud music, he said. I want to know you. I replied, as I always do when someone says something serious, is you still high? He gave me that signature grin. I melted like I was a high school kid. I arranged a night at Cafe Norca, a small restaurant I had opened up in Ciudad Mexico with my socio. Now that's a whole nother book all on its own. It was a Saturday night. The senora, who was a cook in more than a few of my restaurants, and I don't even know how that actually happened, but she's a cook in my restaurants that had opened up in Mexico City. She offered to cook the meal for me, and I told her no. I thought, this beautiful thing wanting to know me, I mean me, well, I'm gonna put me on a plate. I wanted him to taste me. I had this theory at that time, and I guess I kind of still do. I can cook something, and you will love me. If there's good in your spirit, my food will find it and make you grow. I'm a firm believer in my girl, Julie from Philly. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Do you want on your candy sweets? Ha! It's love. I was struggling as per usual, chasing my dreams. I just finally gotten over the whole Navy thing, plus leaving, moving, and about 10 other things all at the same time. I thought these issues were life-changing at the time, but it makes me smile to myself, and maybe you too, when you look back on all the things that you thought were gonna define you, make or break you, not realizing at all what real pain and loss feels like, because there's some things you can't read, see, acted out on a stage or on a screen. There's some things that you have to go through in order to understand them. There's nothing that can give true meaning to heartache except for heartache. I liked it in him, okay? I said liked it. I wanted him to know me. Lord, I wanted him to know me. Baby, I wanted him to know me. Now, this whole date thing, it turned into me having a whole existential crisis, right? Who the fuck was I? Like so many men that I knew as contemporaries, we had spent moments on trying to figure out that exact same shit. Who am I? The lucky ones did, and some of the unlucky ones didn't. I knew dozens of amazing black men who fell by the wayside during the crack epidemic. Crazy racist laws that landed hundreds of thousands of young black men who hadn't been arrested for minor offenses, landed in prison for maybe life, even though they were more than 7 times likely to be stopped by the police than any other race at that time, as well as they lived in areas that were over-policed. And then, of course, the AIDS epidemic, where I personally lost some amazing characters in this impromptu play, Us Called Life, that I wish were still here. Keith, Dade, Sean, Joe. Too many to list, and this keyboard ain't waterproof. But now, who the fuck was I standing alone in this new place? Done. Okay. But now, who the fuck was I standing alone in this new place that my color for about 98% of the population was a descriptor, not necessarily with a negative connotation as it was in my own land? Was I this urbane Negro? Was I a gay black man? Or was I a black gay man? Who was I at the core? Did I carry around joy in my core too? Was I shiny and new? My grandmother, may God and the ancestors bless her soul, I think sometimes was a genius. She had a saying, fable, or cautionary tale for any and all situations, trials and or tribulations, blessings, births, and prayers. You are all of you, she said. Your joy, your sorrow, your pain. You're everything that came before you, and you're everything that will come after. Trust in your heart and soul, never in your mind, because we can think ourselves into all kinds of foolishness that the body can't get out of and the spirit can only mourn. At that time, I'm much of who I is now. Black, Adams. I grew up this way. My family was part of the Great Migration from the Jim Crow South. My line is filled with saltwater Africans, Aborigines, Geechee, Creole folk. They had hard days and sometimes even harder nights. I knew what it meant to hustle and to try to make money moves. I swear hand to God that we probably not have reached middle class by the 80s if it not been for what had been instilled in that generation. I was part of a lineage that helped make America great. All the times it was great. Whether you count slavery for all the free labor it provided for the growth of this great nation, or if you count on us forcing America to try to live up to its words, the civil rights movement, or if you count social justice reform and shine a light on all of America's ugliness. I had been abused. I had scars. I was complicated and yet simple as rain. How's it go? I was complicated and simple as rain. I'm free as the wind, my soul bright as stars, my mind wide and clear as a pool of water. I have a steady head and a steady hand to make it happen. Or hell, that's what I believe, okay? Manifest, hello somebody. I made fried chicken. It was me. It was my past, it was my present, and later it became my future. It was complicated and simple like rain. It filled and nourished many a man and woman. It was savory and had overtones of sweetness. It had hints of heat and spice. It was part of my soul, and I wanted him to know my soul. I wanted those firm embraces to melt into me this night. Ingredients. Unbleached flour. Everything lily white ain't always right. Garlic powder. Garlic, powdered and fresh to heal the body and satisfy the itch. Thyme, dried and fresh to heal the stomach and the body. Rosemary, and dried and fresh for the savory so the brain remembers. Sage, dried and fresh, helps with the head. Bay leaf to heal the innards. Hungarian smoked paprika to help with the sugar. Cayenne pepper powder filled with anti-inflammatory. Mexican oregano, antioxidants. Marjoram fresh for easing of blood flow to the stomach. Chamomile tea, onion powder, fresh, pink salt, pink sea salt, fresh cracked pepper, buttermilk, egg, whole chicken. In life, we sacrifice. Hell, sometimes we are the sacrifice. When I cook, I always use a whole bird. We become so far removed from our food. We should always remember that these animals we eat were once living and breathing things. The fruits and vegetables we eat were also alive. In my country, we throw away so much food. I always think we're just so far removed from what we consume. We treat these lives that give us sustenance as if their breath and beauty meant nothing. I went to, like I said, a market a day before he was to come to dinner. I spoke to the Doña. I still to this day don't know what this little Mexican lady's name was. I called her Doña because it was a sign of respect. She was always sweet to me. Even when I couldn't speak a lick of Spanish, she genuinely tried to understand what this big 6'2" black man was trying to convey. I mean, we use sounds. FYI, all animals do not sound the same in all languages. All cows don't go moo. We drew pictures. When that didn't work, whatever it took. But by this time, my Spanish was flawless, at least I thought. I asked her for the youngest chicken. I took the bird back to the restaurant and the senora, who washed and cleaned it like it was her child. I loved to watch her work. She did everything with love and a smile. I think I developed some of my talking to my food when I'm cooking from her. Something would start boiling over. She's like, I see you. I'm coming to give you what you're reading right now, baby. If what we do is manifest, then I guess when I cook, I manifest my love, my lust, and my soul. First, we butcher. Once we're all cut up and portioned, vinegar soaked for 30 minutes in the fridge. Drain and pat dry and replace in the fridge. Mix dry ingredients in a large bowl to make sure they're well mixed. You want to have an even flavor on all already. Mix all wet ingredients and herbs and fresh herbs in a mixer or whisk hard, babe. Like any marinade, you got to make it your own. A little less, a little more. Make sure that marinade is doing what it's supposed to do. It is the intent, the action, and the result of life of this dish. It has to be strong and bold because it has to honor what is given life to nourish a body. So don't be playing when it comes to flavor. If you had to stop being, I mean literally stop being, stop existing, in order for something else to continue, you'd want to be treated with honor and reverence. Now, once you got your marinade right and you like your taste, you're gonna take 1 cup of it. You're gonna go in that refrigerator, you're gonna get one of them wangs. You're gonna put the wing in that cup of there, and you're gonna turn on that eye, and you're gonna cook it until the chicken comes to 165. Pull her out, give her a little taste if you in love, and go ahead and put the rest of your bird in there, cover it up overnight. Now it's time to cook. Dredge the chicken and set on cooling rack. Let it stand for 10 minutes and repeat the dredging. Some folks like to rush, okay? Par cooked chicken and whatnot. However, I was always taught that like life, cooking is something to be mastered, studied, and above all else, it should take time. Shit, don't nobody want it quick. Okay, well, sometimes a quicky's good, but ain't nothing like slow loving. Hello, somebody. The reason you dredge the chicken twice is to make sure it's properly coated because you want the chicken to cook in its juices and that the marinade to stay where it's supposed to be with the chicken and not all in the oil. You also want to make sure that your chicken is not too cold, otherwise you end up with dry, tough-ass bird, and don't nobody want no dry, tough-ass bird. Now make sure your oil is hot. A medium high I find works for me. Now don't crowd your pan. Just like anything else in the world, it needs space to be everything it's supposed to be. Now just like life, sometimes things don't always go as planned. Now if you like your chicken fried hard, then make sure you preheat your oven to about 225 and let it rock while you're frying up your bird. Once you start pulling your chicken, place it in the oven on a rack with rosemary on the bottom, not touching the bird. Continue to keep your chicken in there until the oven is ready to serve, until ready to serve. Biscuits. I always remember this recipe for its math. Like life, cooking has numbers, and biscuits starts with the number 2. I often remember a conversation I had with him once. I've always known that no matter how much you try, a relationship is just like all other ships in the world. It starts with 2 and ends with 2. I've never understood all this truffles and polyamory and all this other foolishness. I think it just means you ain't ready to make no biscuits for nobody but yourself still. The English boy was the color of biscuits. You know, golden on the outside. I loved to spend time with him. Still do now. It happens every decade or so, but he's still the color of biscuits. Hell, I'd still put a little butter on him. That Sunday night, he came to Cafe Lorca to have his time with me. I lit the entire restaurant with candles, flowers strewn everywhere. There on that night, I fed him a plate of meat. The chicken had absorbed all of the flavors. The first bite was just a bit of crust. It was light and flaky and crispy crunch. I could taste bits of saltiness and bursts of thyme and sage. The smoked paprika opened up to the sting of the cayenne pepper. The garlic was subtle but strong, and the onion added just a touch of sweetness with a slight acidic undertone. The second bite was all flesh. It was tender. The buttermilk had done what needed to be done, y'all hear? It infused with the flesh, with the floral notes of the sage and the garlic, and came in strong, like a hand caresses softly. It could be stronger, but right now, this is just what is needed. The onion, as always, sweet and sassy. The heat from the pepper comes in to lend some strength. The sage lays back, feeling all earthy and cool. The chicken was everything I was, am, and could be. They say you can tell a lot by the way someone eats. His first bites were polite and purposeful. He started with a knife and a fork. He wanted to see how it was received. You know, you can't just start shoving things in your mouth the first time. He gave me that smile, that little impish grin, and put down the fork and knife and tore that chicken off. When he put that bone in his mouth while smiling at me, baby, he had me hook, line, and sinker. I still remember his seersucker suit and his worn leather satchel that he always had a book and a notepad in. I think my lust for him was more than anything. About his intellect and his spirit. His intellect was that of an old scholar, someone who had lived and read a library twice, but his spirit was so new and shiny. Knew maybe that's where his glow came from, the joy of being in a new form. Decades later, he told me on a drunken night on a roof in Chelsea that I made him glow. That he was none of the things I thought him to be. That just made him glow more. He said he was impressed by me, that I taught myself how to speak, read, and write in Spanish without one lesson. To this day, I think he may know me in a way that some lovers and really old close friends don't know me. He gave me the opportunity to learn a lesson. Always know yourself, because if you don't know you, how's someone else going to? Because if you don't know you, how's someone else going to?